Before we start today, I want to thank you so much for joining me in this series this month in our Sunday self-care session series. It has been such a joy to connect with you on live as well as to talk with you later about your viewing of the YouTube videos and what you think about them, how it's affecting you, and how it's moving you forward in caring for yourself and building a strong and beautiful and unique self-care practice. So please reach out to me as you view these in the future, or if you share them with people. If you're seeing this much later, please reach out to me and let me know what your thoughts are, questions you may have, suggestions you may have, or other resources that you are excited to share about self-care. I'd love to talk about this. I think it's a very powerful subject and can make a lot of change in the world. So have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to connect with you later. So before I start the self-care session, I would like to say that I am paying a lot of attention to the news. What is happening in our country currently is on my mind. It's on my heart. We find ourselves in this moment in this time of loss and grief and tension, of anger, rage, pain. And I want to recognize that for many of us, we have been asleep to the fact that we have been living in this time always. And these feelings, these emotions, these realities have been coursing through us. They have been coursing around us, over us, under us, deeply affecting the Black people and the people of color in this country. And this has been a deep and heavy grievance that so many of us have been operating under the shelter of an oppressive system that serves us and seriously acts in disservice to our brothers and our sisters in this country. At this time, I want to say that I am heartbroken for the family of George Floyd and the many, many, many people before him, and sadly the many after him, most likely, because change does not happen in an instant. We have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of work to do. I want to say that I believe that Black Lives Matter, and in this time I want to be, and always, I want to be a source of love, of friendship, of empathy, and most importantly of allegiance. So today is not going to be all about this, though it would be well deserving. But we are going to talk about self-love. But moving forward, I think it's really important that we discuss love and we hold space for this conversation to be relevant to this time. This should serve a greater purpose. You know, those of us in the self-care space and those of us in the health space continually say that self-love is not selfish. And in order for that to be true, which I believe that it is, it means that the self-care that we practice emanates out into the world and is not restricted just to the individual. And even if it were restricted just to the individual, it still would not be selfish, because that space that person holds, that ground, is made better and is cared for properly and appropriately. And so this time that we're spending talking about self-care, it's good in general, but it's particularly good and necessary for the times like this that we're in, when we are grappling together in a communal space with this insane issue of racism. So it's going to more than touch our conversation. It's going to color our conversation. It's going to just guide it. It's, you know, it's obvious that we're in this time and that we need to confront it. And so importantly, we need to bring love to this conversation so that we can bring healing. So with all that being said, it's the last week of our series. This is our final session talking about self-care and talking about what really makes up self-care and how we can build a practice of self-care that brings us more into ourselves, makes us more into the people that we want to be, that we hope to be, that we were born to be. And it's been a really wonderful month, this month of May, talking about self-care together and getting into the ways that we can make it really sustainable, the ways that we can make it really meaningful, and the ways that we can make it really individualized so that it's serving each one of us well. Okay. So we're talking about self-love, and the thing that is exciting about this week is, in looking back over past weeks, what we've talked about, the prompts that we've engaged with, and already the things that we have done in our lives to practice self-care. We've been practicing self-love in caring for ourselves this way, in getting to know ourselves better, becoming more acquainted with ourselves, more in tune with ourselves. We are loving ourselves. That is a form of listening. And you need listening in relationship. And so when you're in relationship with yourself, you need to be listening to yourself. And that is a form of love. And then moving into the second week, what we covered was respecting ourselves, and respect is foundational in love. You cannot have love without respect. And I mean, that's just, I don't know if I really need to expand on that in this moment. And then the third week, of course, was defining ourselves. And that in defining ourselves, we are really clarifying who we are and bringing that forefront in our minds and aligning our actions with that definition of ourselves, giving ourselves that focus, that clarity. And that is a true act of love. Brene Brown says, clear is kind. Wisely, she says that. And that is what we're doing when we're defining ourselves. We're clarifying, and that's very kind to ourselves. If we move through our life not knowing who we are, not ever taking the time to put words to our being, to our existence, words that we want to follow, that's just, it's such a robbery of the life that we could be living. So congratulations. We have already delved into self-love and that practice, but we're going to continue it today. I think one of the main aspects I want to talk about with self-love is that, well, firstly, before I get to that thing, it's important to remember with love that love is, I don't want to define it, but it is a choice. We know this to be true in our relationships. Love is a choice. We choose to love the people that we love. Now, we might not always choose who we develop feelings for. We definitely don't choose the people that are born to us, but we love them. I randomly fell in love with my husband. If you know the story, it's funny. But I still choose to love my husband every day. And I definitely choose to love my child, even though I didn't know who he was before he came to me. So love is a choice. And we know this with our friendships, with our parents, and it's a daily choice. Every day that we're in relationship with someone and loving them, we're choosing that love. Because love is not just a feeling, right? Love is action. Love is our thoughts towards the person, the object that we love. Love is the way that we behave towards them, the way that we respect them, the way we understand them, the narrative we have about them. All of this is guided by love and the way that we love. So it follows that self-love is also a choice. We choose to love ourselves, and we choose to love in a particular way ourselves. This really moves us into the pragmatic portion of the program, of the self-love discussion. What are we choosing to do for ourselves? How are we choosing to engage with ourselves? How are we choosing to love ourselves? And this is going to pretty much be what we talk about today, because there's so much to talk about here and so little time. I wish we could just like talk about this for the rest of the afternoon. There's about 3 different areas that I want to talk about with these choices of self-love. And the first is our thoughts. I find that one of the biggest things that I struggle with, let me know if you relate, is the way that I think about myself, the way that I talk to myself in my head. We define so much of our day-to-day lives, of our interactions with ourselves, of our choices, the things we pick for ourselves, based off of what we think and how we talk to ourselves, this self-talk. How can we deepen these, how can we deepen our love for ourselves in this medium, in this way? What are ways that we can grab hold of our thoughts, record our self-talk, take note of what it is, and make it more loving? And I'm not talking about letting ourselves get away with things, I mean, I don't know, let's see, for example, so I'm not talking about like doing something that is clearly harmful to ourselves and then letting your thoughts and your self-talk say, it's fine, it's okay. I'm not talking about babying ourselves. I'm talking about clear as kind. Thank you, Brene Brown. I'm talking about real love, self-care, self-love in a way that is going to champion our lives, in a way that is going to move us past painful, destructive, damaging cycles in our life. How are we going to move us past this idea that we're not worthy of healthy, loving relationships? How is it going to move us past this idea that we don't have time to do the things that we love, that bring us so much joy? How are our thoughts and our self-talk going to move us past the idea that we don't deserve to fight for ourselves or to fight for others? This idea of self-love in our thoughts and in our self-talk is so powerful because it is the basis of our actions. It's the basis of our actions towards ourselves, and it is the basis of our actions towards the people around us. This is where the work happens. This is when we say that change starts at home, change starts with ourselves. This is what we're talking about. We have to become aware of the things that we are thinking, of the beliefs that we hold, of the values that we hold. We have to become aware of the way that we're talking to ourselves, the narratives that we are giving to ourselves, the stories we are telling, the pictures we are painting. We have to grab hold of those things and radically fill them with love. Saying, no, we are worthy of more. We are worth more. I love you, self, and so you will hear this, and so you will think this, so you will move forward with these actions and with these behaviors. And the next category, beyond thought and self-talk, really follows. I've already touched on it. It's what are we filling our days with? And we're not so much doing prompts today as we have in the past few weeks. These are more spurrings, encouragements. Something I would challenge you to do is take some time today when you're watching this today. Take some time to plot out your next 7 days. So ignore calendar days. Well, not ignore them, but don't worry about like, oh, well, it's a Thursday and the week starts on Sunday, so I'm not going to, no, do it right now and plan out your next 7 days to next Wednesday. If today's Thursday, bear with me. And put something on your calendar that is something that you love, is something that brings you joy, something that you're good at, something that brings light and goodness into the world. Maybe just into your world, but into the world. Put it on your calendar. What are you filling your day with? Are you only filling your day with meals for other people and chores and bills and work and exercise, which exercise is great. I love exercise, but we get into this space where it's like, it's on the to-do list and you're a bad person if you don't do it. And oh no, you're going to gain the weight. And oh no, then you can't have the cheesecake or whatever, right? We have to have more than just the checklist, than just we need the responsibilities, and when we're responsible for things, we have to do them. I'm not letting you get out. None of this love is like get out of jail free, okay? All of this love is moving us towards our better selves, right? All of this self-love is fighting for what we need to be as people in every area. But to my point, fill your day with joy. Fill your day with love for yourself. Let's radically change the way we spend our time and the way we fill our time, the way we relax, the way we entertain ourselves, the way we just live as humans, as people. This is a form of self-love. This is a way that we can love ourselves by actually living with joy and with contentedness and with growth in our skills and in our passions. We touched on this a little bit before. Again, all these things, they really build on things that we've already talked about. So great, awesome. It's nice to be efficient. If you watched the first one, I love efficiency. Okay, and then the next category I want to touch on is self-esteem. And this is slightly different, and when we talk about self-esteem, it starts to move us in a different direction away from what's typically viewed as self-care, but I think we need to kind of bring it back into the fold as part of self-care, which is like our personal development, and like this idea of confidence. Usually I feel like self-care, when we talk about it, we're talking about baths and things that we can do like on downtime. But I actually think that in order for self-care to be sustainable, self-care needs to be woven throughout our entire existence, throughout our entire days, throughout everything that we do, so that truly we are cared for and we are caring for ourselves in a way that is sustainable. If it's all in stops and starts and it's only when we're going to relax, but when we're hustling, when we're working, when we're moving, we stop caring for ourselves, it would be like if you only put gasoline in your tank when you parked it. You don't want to do that. When you park your car, you want to put gasoline in your tank and run your car on gasoline. And, sometimes you have to stop for gasoline when you're in the middle of a trip, but you still do it, and so that's what I mean with we need to expand our idea of self-care and when we apply self-care. I think we need to apply self-care when we are building confidence and when we are building our idea of ourselves. And this is kind of connected to the thoughts one, but self-esteem is so necessary for building confidence, for building self-worth. And the way that we do that, I know I sound like a millennial. I am a millennial. I'm proud. Don't at me. But it's so important for building those things, especially if you are like me and you're a recovering perfectionist. This is actually something that's super, super important. We move in perfectionism out of fear because we have this idea that we're not good enough, that nothing will be good enough. And so in order to break that, we have to start proving to ourselves that we are good enough and we're already doing things well enough even if they're not perfect, especially if they're not perfect, because perfectionism doesn't exist. Perfect doesn't exist. Okay, so this one is more of a prompt. What are ways that you can prove to yourself, hey, self, I'm doing a great job. I am achieving, I'm succeeding, I am growing and showing up and being my best self right here in this moment. And I don't have to do anything else for it to be true. What are ways that you're already doing that? What can you find in your life where that's true, that where you can see that? And hold on to those moments. Build that self-esteem. And in those moments, by grabbing hold of those thoughts, by recognizing that in yourself, by sitting with that truth that, hey, I'm awesome, or I'm doing a great job, I'm worthy of celebrating this, of being celebrated, even if it's just by myself, even if I'm the only one celebrating me, I'm worthy of it and I should do that for myself. In those moments, that is how we build up confidence. And that act alone is self-love. You're loving yourself by doing that. That's actually what I have for today. I feel like that just was over in a blink of an eye, but it's probably because I dropped my phone a million times. There's no such thing as perfect. I can't tell you how much I hope that you feel loved and that you feel love radiating towards yourself from within you. I hope that's something you feel today, that you know today. I hope it's something that grows in your life. And I hope that as it grows, you're able to share that with others. They're able to see it in you, learn from it, and take it for themselves. This should grow exponentially. There's not an amount of it. This love is infinite, and we give it to one another. So stay strong, stay full of love, and stay open. Keep your ears open, keep your heart open. Listen to yourself, listen to the people around you. And thank you so much. My name is Victoria. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm really passionate about yoga. I'm also really passionate about self-care. So you'll see more of me. You'll see more of me doing yoga. You'll see more of me talking about yoga. You'll see more of me doing self-care, and you'll see more of me talking about self-care. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you're thinking about, what you're experiencing at this time and in the future. And again, thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.